Hey there, Internet. Sometimes when I'm feeling down, what I'll do is that I'll just kind of start to sugarcoat the world in vague, meaningless abstractions. So lately what I've been thinking about is how, like, the world we perceive is not, a thing. It's not a thing. We see the world through visuals, we hear it with sound, and those aren't things, really. They are things because our brains take in the world and translate them into those things, but they aren't like objective things. They wouldn't exist in the world without any creature like us, like humans or other similar animals with similar brains that translate stuff in similar ways. They wouldn't exist without that thing to process them in that specific way. And I don't mean that, like, without us, the world would look different. It wouldn't look like anything. There would be no visual. There would be no, sensory input. The world has no sensory input without things to take in those senses. Sensory input? Do I mean sensory input or sensory... I don't... I'm tired right now, and I don't really care if my vocabulary makes sense as long as I'm getting the ideas across. But, like, all the world is, without us processing it, is like particles and forces and stuff. And see, what I tend to start thinking of when I say that is I start thinking of, like, darkness, right? And then I start imagining, like, atoms. And the atoms are just, like, blotches of light in the darkness. I don't know if that's what you think of, but basically, like, when I think of that, I start thinking of clusters of atoms. But no, there's no visual cluster of atoms. The cluster of atoms doesn't look like anything without something looking at it. I put my hand here, right? It feels solid. I can't put my hand through that. My walls are actually pretty weak. I could put my hand through that. One of my friends broke that wall over there. Used to be friends. We're not friends anymore after that. I haven't spoken to him in 5 years. But, like, it feels solid. My hand doesn't go through here. And the reason, to me, that it seems like my hand isn't going through here is just because it's a solid wall. But it's because of, like, the atoms being close together, so the atoms can't, like, fit between each other. This is a bad scientific explanation, but things that don't matter tonight are science, number one, vocabulary, number two, any sort of cohesive point, number three. But, like, it's just so cool to me that everything we perceive, everything we see, and we feel, and we hear, and we smell, and we taste, just listing senses here, there are more than 5 senses, but, like, those are the big ones. Those are the biggies. All of that stuff is just in our heads. None of that exists outside of people perceiving it, or other creatures similar to people perceiving it. None of it exists. It does exist because it's in our heads and our minds exist. But none of it, like, objectively is a thing. Like, it's there, but it's not a thing. The world, without things to sense it, is completely non-sensory. There is no sensory stuff. I'm sort of putting on an abstraction persona here, and I'm sort of being genuine, but it doesn't matter because, you'll perceive me how you perceive me, and none of it is, but it is to you and I. but it's not. But it is. That's how the world works, my friends. That's how the world works.